Another tier zoo, and we're gonna see just how OP crows are. Now, isn't a raven's a type of crow, right? Because if a raven's a crow, we already know they elite. They like next up to take over the world when the world is done with humans. All right, so let's hop into this.
They've already lost. They just don't know it. Hit him from behind. Stop looking at me. Attack! Save it for the enemy. We've lost control of the command post.
Listen, that boy is
Primates are notorious for their incredibly broken intelligence stat,
Yup.
which grants them access to incredible advanced techniques such as tool use, coordinated team strategies, and even bartering and trade. But primates are not the only
Hold up, he took Lady Glasses and was like, "Give me a candy bar." Nah, that brother's wilding.
faction in the game with a high intelligence stat. Cetacean, cephalopod, and bird mates also commonly opt not to spec into powerful damage dealing abilities, and instead invest into leveling up their brain power skill tree. While this does seem like a risky choice, leaving the player more vulnerable in direct 1v1 combat, in actuality this often results in a much less risky playthrough, as the player's intelligence opens up more options for them to progress.
That is a bold monkey right there, okay? Ain't no way I'm dipping in no lake and trusting no tree branch to keep me safe. One little he's in the water, getting ate. He's done.
Don't require winning in combat. This is especially true of the bird faction, as their ability to fly already allows them to quickly escape most unfavorable combat encounters. Today, we're going to discuss one of the two main intelligence-centered bird builds, the faction that contains crows, ravens, and magpies, the corvid. This video is going to focus mostly on crows as an example, but generally what I say in this video should apply to most corvids. First, let's discuss their stats, as well as the abilities and strategies that exemplify them.
Look at their intelligence.
We'll begin with their
maxed
stealth
out.
stat, which corvids aren't particularly excellent in. The most popular corvid skins are either jet black or piebald, neither of which grant the user that strong of a stealth bonus. In fact, in snowy areas, jet black feathers are actually one of the least effective choices when trying to remain hidden. A dark appearance is most effective as camouflage at night, but crows and other corvids are
They got
not
the
nocturnal builds,
Majora's
so
Mask.
they aren't really gaining this benefit
Pocket
from
the
it.
bottom, I like it.
Now, granted, stealth typically isn't all that important for birds, given how agile and vigilant they are. Plenty of other high-tier avian builds, like for example parrots, are arguably some of the least stealthy birds in the game, and they do just fine. You could even argue that corvids are even less stealthy than their black feathers initially appear, as their iridescence actually makes them even easier to see for certain other players, typically other birds. Ultimately, I think it's safe to say stealth is not an important part of their game plan. At least nowhere near as important as it is for ambush predator builds like the owl. The main predators a crow needs to worry about are raptors. And because of the raptor's keen eyesight ability, it's unlikely having a higher stealth stat would make much of a difference anyway. The crow's defense and constitution stats are fairly average for a bird, which is to say not
Low
great.
health, low
Birds
defense.
have hollow bones, and their feathers offer fairly little in terms of defense. Feathers do absorb...
Birds be eating other birds? Like, obviously a vulture eats other birds. They eat everything, okay? But I didn't know birds was out here doing cannibalism. This is crazy.
Some blunt force damage, but when it comes to slashing and piercing damage, it's nearly useless. And because of their hollow bones, which make them more vulnerable to blunt force damage, the benefit there kind of cancels out as well. Snakes, cats, raccoons, raptors, and dogs all have a high chance of taking a crow out in one hit, so they cannot let their guard down when interacting with any damage dealer builds.
That's crazy.
Given that their playstyle necessitates taking some risk, crow players definitely wish they had more room for error. Thankfully, their next stat makes
Yo, buddy, they get back
some
is
risk.
crazy.
Crow players definitely wish they had more room for error. Thankfully, their next stat makes it pretty easy to avoid damage. The crow's mobility is a little above average for a mid-sized bird, which is to say, excellent. Birds in general are just extremely agile, both on the ground
Yo,
and
buddy
in
hit
the
the
air,
Matrix.
making them extremely hard to land an attack on if they see you coming. Some bird builds, like geese and junglefowl,
They got
require
slow
significant startup in order to get airborne, meaning that they can't rely on their flight to escape danger if the danger is already right in front of them. Crows are
That's
not
tough.
one of these bird builds, and in
fallen
contrast, the
soldier.
startup on their flight move has some shockingly broken frame data, and allows them to quickly and easily reposition themselves in basically any direction in 3D space almost instantly. This makes their ability to dodge attacks one of the best in the entire game, and makes what would normally be fairly dangerous positions, such as right next to a powerful predator, quite safe as long as the Corvid doesn't use any laggy moves. This synergizes well with the Corvid's combat moveset, as we'll discuss in a moment. Corvids are blessed with many high stats, but power is not one of them. Their ability to deal damage is one of the weakest in their weight class, as their only attack option is a simple pecking strike.
Yeah.
This move has quick startup and very little end lag, but its damage is egregiously low. Simply attacking with this move will deal minimal damage to anything larger than an insect.
Bruh, if y'all ever played GoldenEye on 64, they low-key running around on slaps only. Okay, everybody else got automatic golden guns, license to kill, and they on slaps only, bruh. I know y'all played it. You ain't gotta... Hey.
Most players will be able to ignore this attack's damage. However, this doesn't mean a crow's attacks are useless. It just means they've got to be clever about how they
Crow
use
out
them.
here eating squirrel butt.
A well-placed peck can provoke an attack, and if you're able to move out of the way quick enough, the enraged player will end up being forced to lash out at whoever just happens to be nearby, and create an opening for the Corvid player to capture an objective, steal some loot, or escape trouble.
The finesse.
It might seem like a jank strategy, but really this is the bread and butter of Corvid gameplay, and can lead to massive swings in advantage. The chance to afflict the enraged status effect scales with the user's intelligence stat, so the reason this strategy works so well is that the Corvid's intelligence stat is ridiculously high for a non-primate build. Corvids are tied with parrots for the highest intelligence stat in the entire avian faction. And in addition to enabling the goading strike moveset, having high intelligence
That's crazy.
grants Corvids
They really
access to
bait
a lot of other powerful techniques too,
Axel was
including
good.
the ability to use tools. Tool use is one of the most notoriously powerful abilities in the entire game, and in crows this is no less true. By using hook-shaped wooden sticks, crows can score kills on grubs that are normally safe from everything except for woodpecker attacks. And given how many
wow.
expensive niche perks woodpeckers need to spec into in order to perform these sorts of drilling attacks, the ability to bypass all of that investment while still gaining the same rewards is a huge boon to the crows. But high intelligence has far more benefits than just allowing crows to copy the success of hyper-specialized builds. Arguably the most important benefit is team tactics. This is what allows baboons to fight off lions, what allows ants to bring down tarantulas, and what allows wolves to prey upon bison. When crows work together, they can capture territory and control points of interest that
He knocked his homie over. You ever, yo, if Jason's chasing after us, what you gonna do? Bro, I'm gonna trip you so Jason focus on you and I'm gonna keep running. That's what that bison just did to his homie.
otherwise be helpless to defend. They can even rescue each other from what would otherwise be guaranteed lethal attacks, using a tactic called mobbing. Mobbing is a strategy most commonly seen in birds, consisting of bombarding a single target with a barrage of both physical and sonic attacks.
Yo, they got
On their
jumping
own, these
down
would be easy
packs.
to shrug off, but when you're getting pecked at and screeched at from all directions at once, it inflicts heavy physical and psychic damage. This is what allows social corvids, like magpies and crows, to successfully chase away predators several times their size. Ravens, on the other hand, tend not to really need the help, as they're large enough to handle most opponents one-on-one,
Did he just
but
kick
can
him?
still team up in order to lock down a good source of carry-on. Alternatively, they may even ally themselves with wolf players, leading them to a carcass and letting them do the work fighting off their competition before sharing in the rewards. Anyway, that's a basic overview of the
Teamwork
Corvid
make the
build.
dream
Now
work,
let's
boy.
talk about their matchups.
Uncle's invested in
The
physical
Corvid
and mental
matchup chart is
capabilities of
heavily
pros. That's a
dependent on how
fact.
effective their goading strike and mobbing techniques are against a given target. Luckily, because of how high the Corvid's intelligence stat is, the list of targets goading strike works against is quite long. It is best against builds with lower intelligence stats. Things like vultures, things like reptiles, and things like rodents. What's more, this technique even works on one of the Corvid's two primary threats,
Cats.
feline builds. Deadly as cats are, they're often quite reactive and easily aggroed, so goading strike is the perfect tool to redirect their ferocity.
Like, bro, you just seen him behind you. You know it. What? How did the cat across the freaking roof attack you? Why are you angry at that cat? Dog, L animals, man, L animals.
This move is admittedly less effective against the Corvid's other main concern, raptors. However, thankfully the mobbing technique is quite effective against raptors, so for both of their main threats, the crow players have options. The only builds these techniques aren't that effective against are other high intelligence builds, such as monkeys and parrots. Because of their extremely strong social bonding and top-tier intelligence stat,
Oh, wow.
parrots are highly resistant to psychic damage and do not turn on each other easily. In fact, when pestered by a corvid, they are likely to defend each other fiercely using their own, more powerful beaks and louder shrieks. One-on-one, they're fairly evenly matched, so it tends to just come down to size. But in groups, corvids tend to have difficulty forcing parrots away from an objective. As for monkeys, their higher HP allows them to more easily ignore the pecking attacks of a crow. And they're used to getting their tails tugged all the time by their own party members, so a crow doing it
Buddy
is
is
unlikely
getting
to provoke an
dragged.
initial response. Crows and parrots have an interesting dynamic. I've said in previous videos that I believe parrots to be the more viable build. They have higher dexterity with their beaks, their sonic shriek attack is incredibly effective, they're more social, and arguably more intelligent even. And
They're
yet,
hooping?
of the two most intelligent bird builds, there's no denying that in the city biome, corvids are much more successful. I think the reason for this is that even though parrots are indeed more powerful on their own, and are better at using most tools than crows are better at using the most important tools,
Survival.
other players. From provoking attacks and redirecting aggression, to using passing vehicles to deal damage for them and unlock high-value loot, corvids are the best of the best when it comes to using other build strengths to cover for their own shortcomings.
Yo,
And if the human
they are really the humans, bruh. But between parrots and crows, who is going to take over the Earth server once Elon Musk transports all of us to the 72nd moon away from Galaxy Argon, okay? I don't even know if that's a galaxy. I just made that up. I ain't gonna lie.
build's dominance is any indication,
1v1
co-opting the
Holla
strengths
versus
of
Parrots?
less intelligent
I'm winning,
builds
bruh. Come on
is
now.
one of the strongest strategies you can possibly execute in the game. And it's for the
I missed it.
And if the human build's dominance is any indication, co-opting the strengths of less intelligent builds is one of the strongest strategies you can possibly execute in the game. And it's for this reason that corvids sit proudly
S
in
tier,
S tier.
yes, sir.
Speaking of builds with a high success rate within the city biome, another
Squirrels.
creature that thrives in cities is the centipede. With their quick, twitchy movement and flat shape,
Bro, I see one of those, I'm burning the house down. You're done.
they have no trouble weaving through all of the nooks and crannies common in urban environments. This is the subject of my next video, which will be out on YouTube in a month or so. However, if you'd like to watch that video right now, you can access it a month in
brilliant.
advance on
Nebula.
Nebula, the sponsor of today's video.
WW.
Now, many of you have heard me talk about
Like
Nebula
something you
before.
got from Xenon,
It's the creator-owned platform with no ads.
Hey, man, listen. WVid. Hold up. Let me see if there's anything. Hey, shout out to Nebula. Hey, look, I just downloaded Skillshare. Listen, I'm the YouTuber late to the party. All the other YouTubers got Skillshare. I finally got it, okay? Nebula might be the next thing. He did a praying mantis video.
Fascinating insect that has the characteristics of both a wasp and a mantis. How does it fare against other common garden
Oh, we need to hop on that. We got to do the praying mantis video.
insects? Well, you'll just have to check it out to see. I doubt many of you know this exists. It has been sort of hard to find on
Oh, yeah. If y'all seen the thumbnails, we're cooking, okay? We're cooking up the thumbnails, bruh. So shout out to Skillshare, but next we're on to Nebula, okay? I got to get that ick points. When I have kids, they watching Nebula. None of this Netflix, you know what I'm saying, stuff. They can watch Oversimplified on YouTube. They can watch Tier Zoo. Then they're going to Nebula, all right? Daily Nebula videos. But listen, y'all let me know how y'all feel about this, man. The crows are really going to take over the world once Elon gets us out of here, or Jeff Bezos, or, you know, whoever else. All right. P. Diddy will be fleeing soon. Maybe he'll gather some people and get them off the plane. Okay, bad joke. Too soon? All right.